Hey Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here, and I am still a little bit ill, recovering from a cold. Thank you for the response on my last video about the Ultra Beast. It is the best video on this channel, non-stop. If you're new to the channel, link is at the top of the description. That is the video I recommend you check out. And there's been a lot going on to do with Ultra Beast lately, and the reason I'm making this video is because a trailer came out today. It came out earlier today, and I needed some time to digest it and actually recover because I'm still feeling very, very ill. Do not worry though, we are going to be back to regular videos, 2 a week, every week for quite some time, starting this week. We're gonna get back to it, which I love. There's a lot planned out. Production was halted because of this cold that I'm going through, but I'm at the end of it now. And the new trailer has changed the way that certainly I look at the Pokemon universe. There's some key details in there that completely shake the whole thing up. I actually got quite a few messages on Twitter afterwards being like, hang on, doesn't this contradict like previous videos? Doesn't this contradict things we've talked about on the channel before? And yes, absolutely. I mean, we're doing Pokemon theories here. That is the base of what this channel has been about. Pokemon theories. I don't work for Game Freak. I mean, my mum does. We all know that. Anyway, a big part of doing Pokemon theories is sometimes stuff comes up that disproves stuff I've talked about on the channel. And that is a good thing. That is incredibly exciting for me. It means I get to reinvestigate old ways that I've looked at stuff. Just recently I released a video on are the unknown Ultra Beasts and came to the conclusion that they are not, and that the dimension that the unknown from is not Ultraspace. I still believe that to be the case, but what was wrong in that video was the way that I described Ultraspace. See, and I'm sure you're already sick to death of hearing about it, there is a multiverse in Pokemon. Pokemon Ruby and Omega Ruby, they're parallel universes. One of them exists in a timeline where Mega Evolution happened, one of them doesn't. Oh, and on that note, there's also Omega Ruby, but there's also Alpha Sapphire. They are also parallel universes. Also, your copy of Omega Ruby and my copy of Omega Ruby, totally different parallel universes that exist within the Pokemon multiverse. This is all referenced in the Delta episode of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and history lesson for you all, this is a link cable. They refer to the portal between universes as being a link cable. A link cable is the old device that you'd have to use to plug two Game Boys together to trade. When you're trading Pokemon, that is essentially interdimensional travel. Pokemon Sun and Moon then came along and started discussing the idea of interdimensional travel even more, and Ultraspace existing somewhere between the universes of Sun or Moon. Certainly outside of, it's not part of the Pokemon world, it's not part of the Alola region. So the natural conclusion that I came to and started referring in the videos like the Unknown Ultra Beast one is that it is the link cable itself, all the space in here, the wiring, or rather the metaphorical wiring, the metaphorical link cable between all the different universes of Pokemon, that was Ultraspace. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, 2 bits of bread with Ultraspace smack in between, the jam. If you're a Doctor Who fan, think of the Void. That's how I thought it went, but this trailer has changed everything because there isn't one Ultraspace. The name itself, Ultraspace, is actually kind of wrong. It would seem to be the case that there are Ultraspaces, plural. And in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you just visit the one where Nihilego is, like its environment, where it lives. But the trailers that came out today reveal one for Xurkitree, for Buzzswole, for Pheromosa. There's one we've already seen with humans in it for Kartana. Oh, and there's Ultra Megalopolis. Megalopolis. Ultra Megalopolis, a world where Necrozma has stolen all of the light. Presumably the Ultraspace where Necrozma actually came from in the first place. So you've got all of these different environments, and because there is light in the universes where Nihilego's from, there's definitely sunlight in the one where Buzzwole is from, we can presume that these are all different dimensions. And this changes everything about the Pokemon multiverse. I want to thank Katie is not original, her channel is linked below, for helping me out with this graphic with a very short amount of time. Katie, thank you so much, and I hope if you're watching, if you need a graphic artist for anything, hit Katie up, her link is in the description. But I want to re-establish the scene as I see it. So, it is not the case that the Ultraspace is just the jam between the 2 bits of breads that are the game. You have your Pokemon timeline, you have Arceus, you have the beginning of the Pokemon world. Then you have about 300 million years ago, the first recordings of Pokemon in the world. And you have 3,000 years ago, a big old timeline split. Potentially there are an infinite amount of other splits, and maybe that's something more we'll explore in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but this is the main big one that we know about. 3,000 years ago, there's a big split that leads to all of the games as they are, and then all of the games within the Mega timeline. You've got your Generation 1 games in the forms of Red, Blue, Green, Yellow, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. All of these events tell essentially the same story, and again, my cartridge is different to your cartridge, right? Because no 2 adventures are the same. Each of these images, for example, in the timeline, let's take the image of Fire Red, that represents like every copy of Fire Red ever sold. Ever turned on, anytime someone clicks new game, that's a new universe being created within the multiverse. Okay, and all of those events are happening at the same time as Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. Great, cool. And then in the Pokemon world, 3 years later, in the region of Johto, you have all of the events of Gold, Silver, and Crystal, or Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and at the same time in the region of Sinnoh, you've got the events of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. I guess it's wrong to say Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Really, it's Diamond or Pearl or Platinum. And by the way, any combination of these are correct. It's correct to say that the Pokemon timeline is Pokemon Red version happening at the same time as Sapphire, followed by Heart Gold and Diamond. Like, that is just one telling of the Pokemon timeline, and then another telling of the Pokemon timeline would say, well, actually, it's correct to say that Pokemon Blue was happening at the same time as Emerald, and then 3 years later happened the events of Heart Gold again, but then also, let's say, Platinum. Like, pretty much any combination of the 4 generations is the correct order to say. Some people might like to say that the Fire Red and Leaf Green games are the ones that are closer connected to Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and that the original Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow are closer connected to Gold, Silver, and Crystal. That is fine, however you want to look at it. I suppose it doesn't really matter at that point. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty there. But essentially, Gen 1 and 3 games happening, and then 3 years later, Gen 2 and 4 happening. 3 years after that, we have the events of Black and White. 2 years after that, we have the events of Black and White 2. Obviously, Black 2 precedes Black version and White 2 precedes White. I mean, that's just obvious, that's just how sequels work. But yet again, you could say that it was Heart Gold and then Black, or Heart Gold then White, or Soul Silver then Black, or Soul Silver then White, or Gold. You could, you know, you get the picture. Also happening at the same time as Black 2 or White 2 is X or Y. These events all going on more or less at the same time. X and Y, I believe, it is fractionally after Black and White 2 because of the appearance of Looker. But the idea is that they're more or less around the same time, within the same year, basically. And then finally, 2 years later, we have where we're at now, Pokemon Sun or Moon, or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon, judging from everything we've seen so far. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are not sequels. They are again just alternative tellings. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, that means that Red, who you play as in Generation 1, is around about 10-11, and Sun and Moon is around about 21-22. It happens 10 years later. And don't get me started on Wally, that's a whole other Pokemon theory, but look, what you may have noticed is that within this timeline, hang on a second, X and Y and Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they don't have Mega Evolutions. This is not the Mega Evolution timeline. The idea is that the events of those games still happen, just without Mega Evolution happening within them. Meanwhile, on the side of the Mega Evolution split, you have all the exact same stuff, except here, instead of Ruby and Sapphire, you have a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The X and Y, Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in this timeline, they have access to Mega Evolutions and Mega Stones. And the events of Red, Blue, Green, Fire Red, Leaf Green, those events are still possible, they still happen, but they would have happened slightly differently in a world where Mega Evolution existed. Whew! Okay, and that is all just the history of the Pokemon world. It's interesting to note that there may also be alien Pokemon worlds that we don't know of, the homes of BGM and LGM and Pokemon like that. I mean, it seems very plausible that there are aliens of Pokemon. Again, that's something else I talk about in the new Pokemon Epic. By the way, I'm thinking of renaming that series Pokemon in Real Life. I think that gives off a better vibe of what it's about. Anyway, at the same time as all of this going on within the world of Pokemon, there are a few other dimensions. There's lots more in the show, so we're not going to talk about the anime and cross canons right now. Also, I don't have any idea where the Pokemon Range games and Colosseum and XD are within the timeline. They are set in the same Pokemon sort of universe. We know this because we can use a link cable to trade from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald to Colosseum and Gale of Darkness. So that means potentially there is a version of them where there's Mega Evolutions. Huh. But as well as all that, there's two other dimensions that we need to talk about. There's the Dream World. That idea is explored very heavily in the Generation 5 era and in the Dream Radar game, and I guess the general consensus there is that it is literally what it says on the tin. It's a world within the world of dreams, or the dreams of Pokemon, but it is an actual, real, physical place that you can go, or at least your Pokemon can go. Professor Burnett, a prolific character in the Pokemon Sun and Moon arc, is also the main character of the Dream Radar game, and she explores different realms and dimensions, so that's a thing of interest to talk about. Oh, actually, sorry, there's 3 dimensions to talk about. I forgot there's the alternate dimension where the unknown are from. That is something I guess I'll cover in a future video. But no, again, they are not from Ultraspace. In my mind, in my theories, they are like before everything, and they helped Arceus shape the Pokemon universe. And, of course, there is the Distortion World. The Distortion World was created at the beginning of sort of Pokemon time when Arceus created everything. That is where Giratina lives, and that is not Ultraspace, or one of the many Ultraspaces. And there you have it. That is, as we know it, the Pokemon multiverse. That is everything that happens in the history of the sort of Poke Earth. But like I say, Ultraspace is not this. It is not the sort of metaphorical link between the universes. You have to travel through wormholes to get there. It's definitely somewhere outside of Poke-Earth. But, you know, it's somewhere outside of all of this. Obviously, you have to travel through a wormhole to get there. But not just any wormhole, not like a Hooper wormhole or not like a link cable, the technology they use to trade. It's not like you can step in a trade machine and end up there, but specifically an ultra wormhole. Ultra wormholes for Ultraspace. So with that all being the case, we're left with the question, where is Ultraspace? How does it relate to the rest of the Pokemon universe? What are these different Ultraspaces? We see in the trailer that you have to take different Ultra Wormholes to each of them. So what are they? And that's what part 2 is gonna be on. This is an idea I want to work on a lot more. I'm currently working with Hybrid Hero, another Pokemon theorist here on YouTube, working together to explore all the different options. We're actually looking at 3 or 4 different hypotheses at the moment, and we're looking at everything from Ultraspace being something that was created at the beginning with Arceus, to something that was created later on down the line, maybe by Cyrus at the end of Pokemon Platinum. He did kind of vow to create another perfect universe, but would that be the Ultraspace? Because there's multiple other... Anyway, that is all stuff we will explore in part 2. For now, I just wanted to make this video to sort of say, hey, I was very wrong, and that is exciting. It leads us with so many more questions about the world of Pokemon. And also to just show off this timeline and this model of what the Pokemon world looks like and how I base my theories. Oh Pokemon world, how I do love thee. Before I go, if you want to see something cool to do with Ultra Beasts again, I absolutely recommend you check out the last video I uploaded on this channel. It was definitely the best video that has ever been made on this channel. If you're new to the channel, I recommend it so much. Thank you again very much to Katie is Not Original for helping me out with this, and thank you to the big patrons of the month, being Braylinn and Androsly Faye. Thank you, and I will be back with regular videos very soon. So hi, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!
What was this one for?